And welcome back. We're at part 3 of this week's New Comics, bitches! Okay, so, Avengers versus New Ultimates number 4. Number 4. That's my comic book voice. That's my comic book guy voice. Yes, thank you very much. Wow, there's so much happening in this issue. There is so much happening in this issue. It actually seems almost a little scatterbrained for how much is going on in this issue. You know, obviously we have, you know, Spidey got blasted, you know, by the Punisher in the last issue. You know, got hit, got hit right, in the gut. But it was a clean shot, and apparently he's going to be fine. But this is essentially, the Punisher is furious with himself for, he actually seems to want to die because he accidentally shot, this kid, the Spider-Man, who is still just a kid. I mean, this is the one Spider-Man that's really retained his kind of... Sorry. Hal Jordan's calling me. But he's actually seemed to retain his, childish, stature, his young stature, as opposed to being, an adult. So, we've got that. We've got Nick, Nick is still trying to pull out all the stops. Apparently he has War Machine plow through, one of the major bridges, just to try and save his ass. That's, and that brings a couple of people crashing down into the water, but Thor beats the living hell out of War Machine, so, but there's just a lot of crazy shit going on here. And at one point, one of the giant men, because their, giant man doesn't exist anymore, so giant men, he says, it looks like they're professionals, but they aren't. It's like they're just making the shit up as they go along. I'm paraphrasing what exactly he's saying, but, because, Carol Danvers gets hit by an oncoming, police car, and, Iron Man, kind of, really messes up Blade, apparently. He apparently thought that he was a lot stronger than this. And with Nick finally in prison and Carol Danvers, or in custody, I should say, and with Carol Danvers out for the count for the time being, they've asked Gregory Stark to be essentially the new, the interim head of S.H.I.E.L.D. And, of course, this is where we have the big reveal as to who exactly is responsible for, this kind of, okay, the Ultimates are, are pointing the finger at Nick Fury. The new Avengers are pointing the finger, the new Ultimates, sorry, and the Avengers are pointing the finger at Carol Danvers. They seem to, they all seem to, somebody's engineered this confrontation between the Avengers and the New Ultimates. And we finally find out who this is. Now, if what indeed happens at the end of this issue stays as part of the, the Ultimate Universe, this is going to be huge, major repercussions, probably even beyond that of the death of Spider-Man, whenever that might be, because we're still unsure. But, whatever. It's still, it's still a good read that's, it's pretty, it goes by pretty quickly. Millar, I gotta keep calling him Millar. Miller, Mark Miller does a really nice job of keeping it brisk and not too mired down. He's good at that. sometimes he's a little too good. Sometimes he moves things along a little bit too quickly. But this issue, I think, struck a nice balance. So, definitely, obviously looking forward to seeing how the rest of this is going to play out, and actually in the death of Spider-Man. So, because we all know that Spider-Man is going to be coming back, Ultimate Spider-Man is going to be coming back, but it's just not going to be Peter Parker anymore. So, whether or not Peter Parker actually dies, that's something to... Anyway. So, next bit here is Batman Gates of Gotham. #1. Now, as soon as I had heard about this, I immediately put it on my pull list because it's written by Scott Snyder, who's been doing such an amazing job on Detective Comics for the last several issues. If he brings the same sort of sensibilities to this story about kind of the beginnings of Gotham City, and the families that are responsible for kind of building up Gotham City. It starts it starts in the past, back in 1881, with Alan Wayne, and these and these other families, these heads of these other two men that are heads of other families in Gotham, that create these three, like the three main bridges in Gotham City. And then, of course, it segues back to the present, in which there's an investigation into some plastic explosive that went missing. And then while that's all going on, these three bridges explode, and they're trying, and Batman and Red Robin, they're trying to, keep death and damage to a minimum. All these three main bridges are knocked out at the same time. Here's something that, this is just, now Kyle Higgins, who I've never heard of, again, did the art for this issue. And this is something that I never get enough of, and I'm being very literal here, which is when you see the character leap from, starts up here, and then, starts way up here, and then you see him through the frame, leaping through the debris, as opposed to doing it in each, doing panels for different movements. I always liked that. I really did. So, so the other, and he, in order for Batman to, kind of help save some people here, he does some serious John Woo, Chow Yun Fat, dual, grappling gun shit, which is really cool to watch. Well, because the whole thing is, while I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, this is definitely, because he's got the whole thing going on, just so he can fire as many lines as he possibly, grappling lines as he possibly can, in order to keep all these cars on the bridge, and also get in there and try and save. So, but, still people are lining up dead, and then there's this, kind of, there's this kind of quote that's appeared at one of the newspapers, which says, "The families will fall by the gates of Gotham." What that's actually referring to, we don't know, but we know that this is going to be a story about, again, a segue from the beginnings of the empires of the Wayne family, the Elliott family, and the Kane family, that will lead up to this, that will lead up to the events that are in the present now. And so we've got, it's just, it's just some really interesting stuff. The art in this is really, really good. And the story is just really quite good as well. So, you know, and I love Snyder's characterization of well, it's not, to be fair, it's not just Scott Snyder. Kyle Higgins, who, you know, like I said, also you know, did the art here. I'm sorry, Trevor McCarthy. Trevor McCarthy did the art. I'm sorry, I feel really stupid now. My apologies to Trevor. So it's Snyder and Kyle Higgins did the story. So there's that. But, you know, in the credit, you know, with credit to Snyder and Higgins, they do a great job of characterizing Damian Wayne. I just, you know, I always dig when he pulls that, you know, kind of almost bratty stuff. But on to the book of the week. Da-da-da. Book of the week this week is Rocketeer Adventures, number 1 of 4. I've been a fan of the Rocketeer for a while. I love the movie, so if you hate it, fuck you, because it's a great movie. But I've also really enjoyed the comics. I really enjoyed Dave Stevens' you know, kind of take on a pulp hero. I had forgotten that Dave Stevens had died back in 2008 from something known as hairy cell leukemia. But, you know, this cover, actually by Dave Stevens, there's a variant cover by Alex Ross, which is really beautiful, but this is much more worthy, in my opinion, of having a cover that's actually by Stevens himself. But the Rocketeer Adventures, it's not reprints of anything that has been done in the past. It's actually writers and artists coming together to create new stories of the Rocketeer. I'm not really going to get too much into plot here, because there are a couple different stories here, and they're all great. You've got one where the story and art is done by John Cassaday, which is a huge thing for me, because I adore John Cassaday's art. And he's actually a pretty damn good writer, too. Even though these are just short stories, but just reading, you know, just looking at Cassaday's art. I started reading Planetary recently. I'm not a huge fan of the comic itself, but his art is just glorious to behold. He really is one of the preeminent artists. And these are really loving tributes to Dave Stevens' work and the characters that he created. You know, with Cliff Secord and, you know, and Betty and Peavy, you know, these are all, you know, really tremendous characters. And you've got you know, wonderful, another really great story, which is, you know, by Mike Allred, you know, done by Mike Allred, you know, written and art by Mike Allred. And then you've also got another story that's written by Kurt Busiek, but has art by Mike Kaluta, who, if you actually watched my Shadow segment that I did about a month ago, you know that I'm a huge fan of Mike Kaluta, and he does some awesome work in this. I mean, really, again, I could not think of a more loving tribute to the work of Dave Stevens than this book here, which is why it's my book of the week, because this is just really tremendous stuff. I mean, it's great writing, great art, and just there's not a moment of it that makes you feel down or sad or anything like that. This is just good, old-fashioned, fun pulp storytelling, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's something that I almost wish would come back. So, again, definitely check. You know, if you're a fan of fun comics, check this out, man. You're really gonna enjoy it. Anyway, so that's it for this week in New Comics, bitches! So, like it, don't like it, comment, subscribe. Let me know, dudes and dudettes that are out there, so we know what we're doing is good. So anyway, until next time, see you later.